Stranger Things Season 5 in the 2000s. Final season begins in Season 1. In the Outlands, we see a de-aged Will singing Drive, but it gets interrupted when the Naga founds him. And yes, Will did bring the gun with him into the Outlands. He tries running up that tree, but he gets caught, and apparently Will did know about Xavius back then. In modern 2009, we see Holly, who's Mike and Nancy's sister. She's been recast because she's the only one of the kids who hasn't been growing like a weed this entire production. She likes to read the Polar Express and talk to her imaginary friend. It gets her something to do because Will's family moved in. And no, it's not to do with that damn recession Mike's dad's complaining about, it's due to the military moving in. Led by Dr. K, who's played by Sarah Connor. The GameStop was destroyed in the rift, so now Robin and Steve work as DJs on the radio. Dustin's depressed over Eddie's death, listening to Johnny Cash's cover of Hurt, and he gets picked on by those douchebags who are friends with Jason last season. And Eleven's missing because she's been skipping school to train like Chronicle 3 years early. And Murray's been doing some supply runs, including getting a ring for Jonathan. Jonathan and Steve are doing some love triangle things with Nancy running up a tower that kind of resembles the water tower from that 70s show. The guys are concerned about Dustin, but no time because they get a cryptic message from Robin. So 11 joins Hop sneak into the tunnels because the plan is for Hopper to sneak into the Outlands and find Xavius. But Will's starting to get lightheaded as Holly's spinning around and that dipshit Derek keeps spinning her too much, causing her to talk to thin air. So Mike has to talk to her, and Holly says her friend protects her from the Outlands. And Mike says that she doesn't have to fear because she's Holly the Heroic, like her character in World of Warcraft. A Draenei priest. Draenei have been all across the galaxy, and they're fearless. Will accidentally peeks in on Robin and Vicky about to bang in the hospital, and then finds Lucas visiting Max in the hospital. As Dustin's visiting Eddie's grave, which has been vandalized just like in Carrie. And that psychopath jock didn't just use paint, he ripped up Dustin's pet snake and used its blood. Mike is starting to think that Xavius is messing with everyone's emotions. Hopper gets into the Outlands, but a Naga attack sends them having to run away. And Will actually sees through the Naga, so they know that Karen's bubble bath is going to get interrupted by the Naga trying to grab Holly. So Karen tries pulling a Miss Weasley, which doesn't work out for her, so 11 has to go into the Outlands after Holly. Meeting up with Hopper as Jonathan and Steve meet up with Dustin and his busted nose, driving around trying to get a signal for Xavius. 11 and Hopper find out there's a giant wall in the Outlands, and Will's starting to realize he's still connected to the hive mind, and Robin suggests it's because he needs to get close to it for it to really work, like a satellite dish. Holly's been taken to the Creel house, and her imaginary friend turns out to be Henry Creel as Mr. Conductor.
I thought blackberries might cheer you up a little. They're your favorite.
How did you know?
Oh, it's just a hunch. I'm good with hunches.
By the way, thank you for the pineapple. You're quite right. It is my favorite. But how did you know?
Intuition.
So Mr. Conductor's been spying on all the kids in town. So they gotta stop this Epstein shit, and they're positive the next person's gonna get attacked as dipshit Derek. And to get to dipshit Derek, they need someone who is friends with his sister, and then we can get Derek to go to sleep, and then we can attack the Naga, and then put a tracking chip on the Naga to find out where Xavius is. Erica is friends with dipshit Derek's sister, right? She's currently in Mr. Clark's wormhole class. While in the Outlands, Eleven's getting taken out by the Sonic the Hedgehog sonic cannons from the Hulk, so Hopper and 11 have to action movie out of there. At least Holly's enjoying herself in the 1970s, trying on all these dresses and stuff, listening to her favorite song, You Belong With Me by Taylor Swift. She dresses like Alice in Wonderland, watches Black Hole. But then she goes through Henry's stuff and finds a telescope with a suspicious lens. Mike and Lucas try getting Erica on board, but it turns out she broke up with dipshit Derek's sister, so now they have to make a whole new plan of trying to apologize to them. As Will and Robin talk relationship advice while they get the drugs, as Dustin is drilling into Steve's car to pull a tracker. Hopper and 11 are interrogating a soldier about the wall and what lies beyond, but that's a spoiler. Holly ignores Mr. Conductor and goes into the woods as Little Orange Riding Hood. You see Derek playing on a PlayStation 3 Arkham Asylum, and a bit of an oversight, but they accidentally use footage from the remaster of Arkham Asylum. Erica is here to apologize with a pie she baked. Isn't this lovely? But it turns out, like a true rogue, Erica actually put the drugs in the pie.
I told you to eat your damn pie.
So now it's time to set up the giant saw trap. And Robin basically recreates the scene from Pulp Fiction where they get the chainsaw but then trades it in for a katana. And Robin would know nothing about katana. Will doesn't blame his mom for everything, and nor does he feel cold at 31 degrees. Just like dipshit Derek's Digimon blankets, the plan's a success, and they're able to shoot a tracking device into the Naga, and Dustin and Steve proceed to try and find its location in the real world with their radio. But then dipshit Derek wakes up. As Holly finds Max, dipshit Derek calls Joyce a pedo fork, but Joyce catches him up to speed about Stranger Things, and he agrees not to try something. And as soon as he's let go, he tries something.
Suck my fat one! Jesus, what? You just signed your death warrant, dipshit! You're just a psycho and you're going to jail!
But then Will sees the Nagas returning, so Joyce tries swatting it away. Steve runs it down with his car so it escapes, so the group goes after it in the car. As Will sees everything, the government is grabbing kids because they want to use them as bait because Kay thinks that Eleven's behind everything. Max explains that they're stuck in the dreaming, but this cave is a safe zone. So the rest of the group have a plan to go and save the kids from the military to save them from Xavius by using the tunnels, and even dipshit Derek can help. Nancy, Jonathan, Dustin, and Steve are stranded in the Outlands, but they make contact with Eleven and Hopper. The others' plans start with dipshit Derek turning himself in, and Eleven doing some Super Mario jumping into the Outlands military base. Dipshit Derek claims to be the prophet of Mr. Conductor, and we're all going to be saved. Everyone thinks he's crazy, but Holly's friend Debbie agrees because apparently predestination and only some are saved. And maybe Will could control the Naga. Dustin does some basic math and thinks that the wall's actually completely surrounding the Outlands, and at the center is Hawkins' lab. Max got to the cave going down memory lane, and even entering into Henry's memories of the 1980s going to high school, which connects to a stage play and a very Kingdom Hearts move is not easy to watch at all, but it is canon, showing that Henry had a thing for Bob's sister and all the adults went to high school together. And he had some old god shenanigans there, but it first really started when he went to a cave when he was a kid, which is why he's traumatized about it, because he found some of Brunner's stuff, which sent him to the twisting nether for 12 hours. And the plan starts hitting the fan because Eleven gets hit by the Sonics, and they accidentally hit a water line trying to get the kids, and they got a snitch. So Hopper gets into a fight, and Kay finds them. Then Hopper gets tentacled. Kay tries interrogating him, but Eleven stabs her with scissors. Hopper takes down Kay, and he tries getting 11 out of there to go down with the he's fine. And he found Callie from Season 2. Amazed they remembered her. Half of the cast escapes, but the other half ends up getting caught by the military. But Will's hive mind senses are tingling as gates open up everywhere, and it becomes an absolute bloodbath of Nagas tearing through the military. Will feels all of it, but even worse, out of the portal comes Xavius, looking better than ever. Joyce gives him a piece of her mind that doesn't go well. So Xavius taunts Will, saying the kids are way easier to manipulate than that Barb, leaving him with the knowledge that he's taking the kids. But then Will remembers his childhood and meeting Mike, and he has fucking powers! Stopping the Naga from attacking his friends and compressing them. But Xavier still has his Polar Express cult of kids, and together they can be heroes. The group finds Lucas, and it turns out Will's powers only work if he's around the hive mind. Dustin, young adults, find the Outlands Hawkins' lab.
You've all seen Return of the Jedi, I hope?
Yeah, that's the one with the teddy bears.
Ewoks.
Yeah, it's the best one.
Theorizing that's emitting a shield around the Outlands. And even Holly's convinced the conductor wants to smash whatever's beyond the Outlands into the real world. And her and Max find delightful Derek. And we come up with a plan to let Will get to Xavier so he can use his powers and take out the head of the project. And Erica and her Caprice son think of a way to use Mr. Clark to help. Jonathan and Nancy are having relationship problems. As the world is melting, Callie apparently did know about one but didn't know Henry was alive. Her Black Parade was killed and she was shaved and captured. She tried escaping and found out that they're using her blood to make a new generation of powered kids. And 11 was the most successful offspring from using Henry's blood. The girls use delightful Derek as a distraction so they can do some memory searching to find an exit in Holly's memories, like that memory she has of watching Saw 2 in the basement when her mom said not to. Robin says it's better to admit who you are than live in a closet. Steve and Dustin are getting frustrated with each other because Steve's a little bit jealous about how Dustin feels about Eddie, because Eddie was basically Steve plus, because Dustin really needed an older brother figure, and Eddie did basically what Steve was in the first couple seasons, but more so because they were actually interested in the same things. Then Steve takes it a little too far, which leads to a tussle and both of their phones breaking. Just as Dustin finds a thing to prove that he was actually wrong about the shield theory, Holly's getting closer to an exit, and Henry calls Derek a dipstick. The group in the real world Frankensteins a Naga to get Will to see to where Xavius is. Holly found a memory of where to get out, but this causes Henry to start glitching out into Xavius, and he's armored up so Max can't rip out his throat again. But Will found him and snaps Xavius' legs and screams for the two to run. They force push a little, and Jonathan and Nancy found a thing. Dustin tries calling them on his broken phones because it turns out these particles are actually the stabilizer to the realm, and Nancy just shot it, which causes a crazy effect and a problem because now the world's melting again. At 5 in the morning, Erica and Murray find Mr. Clark with the bicycle, and a hole in the wall starts sucking out from the Outlands. And Dustin realizes that in reality, the Outlands is a wormhole into the twisting nether. Well, Henry can't go in this specific cave, so he thanks Will for the caves in Season 2. Hopper 11 and 8 make it to everyone else, as Dusty go to try and find Nancy and Jonathan in the House of Wax, and together, they realize maybe opposites attract and shared trauma isn't really a good pairing, so they unpropose. One salt bath and 11 finds everybody. The girls are memory diving and find Henry as a kid killing a guy in a cave for a briefcase, and behind it is the exit. But now Xavius is after Max, so Lucas has to deadlift Max. Then Vicky and Robin have to Jurassic Park as they're getting hunted by some Murlocs. But luckily for them, Karen was dry cleaning some gas tanks that the Murlocs see. The girls find an exit, but Max convinces Holly for like 3 days that she needs her own happiness to get out of here. Max isn't blind because shut up, but her limbs are noodles. And Holly wakes up in Xavius' nest, which is in the twisting nether, which was purposely designed to look like a Linkin Park music video. And the nest itself is in a sleeping old god, which is in the shape of the crystal tower from the Dark Crystal, which was foreshadowed on a poster in Season 1. Luckily, Holly finds a rift, and going into it, she starts free-falling into the Outlands. Karen joins the team, Will feels like shit and blames himself, even though no one else does. Everyone makes it into the Outlands to pick up the rest, but Holly gets captured again. So meeting up at the radio station, and everyone gets informed about the wormhole. One joke about Steve being fat, and they come up with a plan to use the Powerpuff Girls to use their powers, and Max to save the kids. They get a truck, Steve and Dustin make up. Holly is positive that what happened to her is going to happen to 11, and her friends are going to get killed, and she's going to get kidnapped, and it's going to be this whole cycle. Well, it's either now or never, so Will comes out as gay to his friends, and they still all love him and care about him, and it's super sweet, and of course a lot of douchebags review bomb the episode. In the truck, they break the barricade, Nancy goes full action movie, and they make it into the Outlands. As the child cult, they're starting to bring the world down. Let's splat, gang. So Hopper takes the two Powerpuff Girls to do their thing to grab Max to find Xavius, crawling through a bunch of memories until they finally find Henry and throwing him out the window. But the military's at the radio station and they figure out the plan. The ritual hasn't ended yet as the twisting nether falls into the Outland. It hits the tower. Steve falls off. He's fine. Using Collie's powers to hide them, Max tells them the conductor isn't his true self as Xavius shows his true self in front of 11. So everyone books it out of there. Not much of a surprise, but Derek's fat ass isn't good at parquet. What happened to his parents and sister? Are they still locked up, or did Erica accidentally kill them? There's no time! Xavius tricks Hopper into shooting the tank, which breaks the connection, and the power of determination overcomes his trauma so he gets into the cave. Everyone makes it into the twisting nether, but Will knows that Xavius is near, as the military found everyone in the lab in the Outlands, so hits them with some sonic. Hopper grabs his daughter and gets out of there, but then feels bad for Kali and goes back and gets caught. Murray blows up the helicopter, so 11 takes out these assholes, but they hit Kali. Derek somehow got his fat ass through the exit door, but Holly's lagging behind. That trauma really starts hitting Henry as he starts remembering in the briefcase was the thing that gave him old god particles, which will probably be explained in a spinoff or something. Will tries using compassion to get to him. They was manipulated by the old gods, but Henry is super far gone by this point. So the castle wakes up and the old god Nazaf, who's a giant kaiju spider thing. You can either have a giant kaiju spider thing or an army of Naga, Murlocs, or remember dire bats exist. You can't have both because Netflix isn't literally made out of money. Then 11 rips off Attack on Titan a decade early to get to Xavius. She deals with him as everyone else has a World of Warcraft boss battle with the old god, as Will's probably on the ground vomiting in pain. Taking out the old god's hit points enough so everyone gets in to save the kids. But Henry's still alive! And yeah, Joyce and Hopper did know him in high school, but he's super far gone, he doesn't apologize, he doesn't even really look like Henry anymore, so why would she recognize him? So Joyce takes him out, ending this nightmare they caused her family. As the Butthole Surfers Pepper starts playing, everything seems like it's gonna be right. Oh, you assholes! 11 has a tragic goodbye to Mike, as the bomb goes off, causing another explosion, collapsing the Outlands, set to Crimson Clover by Prince, as 11 goes down with it. 18 months later, it's 2010. Hawkins built back better. I guess Robin and Vicky didn't work out. Steve's updated his style, and now he coaches Little League and Sex Ed. Max has made a full recovery, and you can tell it's an end of an era because she's recording herself skateboard on an iPhone 4. Her and Lucas are official. Everyone's ready to go graduate. But Mike is still depressed about 11. But Hopper assures him that it wasn't his fault. At the graduation, I guess Max really crushed it at summer school because she's graduating with everyone despite being in a coma. And Dustin gives a speech that his childhood was mostly stolen, but he loves World of Warcraft, and in it, arcane magic is dangerous and deadly, but it's also wonderful and can create great things. Like this terrible school brought him some endless friendships. And it's officially his year because Hellfire lives, baby! Whoa! And he flips off the principal just like Eddie wanted to do. And what's her face from season 2 that shot down Dustin at prom? Thought that was pretty cool and invites him to a party. I guess she did come around. Kind of upsetting that they didn't at least said that Dustin broke up with Susie because of his grief for Eddie at the beginning of the season. Just at least a cameo. And how did Argyle escape the military blockade? The young adults meet back up, and Jonathan's making movies. Nancy dropped out of college because she wants to be a reporter for Vox. Robin's still going to college, and Steve. They come together for a selfie, and they agree to meet at least once a month. Hopefully, unlike a lot of friendships this age, that 1 month visit will actually happen. Hopper proposes to Joyce and says, let's get the hell out of here, to somewhere that's probably less haunted. The now young adults are enjoying World of Warcraft and on their trip to find the next boss. Mike starts talking about where they think everyone's going to end up in the future. Like Lucas and Max are still together, and Dustin's going to college, and Will's got a boyfriend in the big city, and Mike is writing scripts for the next big indie game. And maybe 11 was able to escape the Outlands using Callie's illusions and made it to a land of 3 waterfalls. It's definitely copium, but it's left just vague and ambiguous enough that maybe that did happen, 11's dead, or maybe this whole ending was an illusion by Xavius, which is our final big movie reference to Inception having an ambiguous ending. Then Karen yells at the group to give the next generation their turn on the computers, which leads to Holly and her friends playing World of Warcraft, and Derek goes on about his original character that's like a combination of Mario and Agumon from Digimon, and how girls don't fart. The basement door closes, Heroes by David Bowie plays, and Will published all the Stranger Things into an indie game. So what happens in the military? Like, Nancy, Murray, Hopper, like, all killed people. I was hoping for Kay to get eaten by a Naga or something, at least. I guess Owens just covered everything up. Wish they actually had that in the show, but it's really not as bad as a series finale as a lot of people say. It is overly long, but a lot of things are these days. To me, at least, it went out on a pretty solid note. I'm glad we went on this 10-year journey, and I'm glad to see what will come from the series next. But let me know your opinions down below, as well as hitting the like button, subscribe button, and hype on mobile.